Welcome back. I wrote down in a day of algorithm terror, fake news and relentless framing. Let's have a decent conversation, shall we? Ooh, that's something old school. Andre was talking about everything we're taking from the planet, the whole concept of Earth Overshoot Day. Is that one you use? Earth Overshoot Day, the day we take more from the planet than the planet can grow back in 1 year. This year it was worldwide on the 2nd of August. For the Netherlands, it was the 1st of April. Last year, it was the 12th of April. So within 1 year, it shifted backwards more than 10 days. And for some parts of the industry, Earth Overshoot Day is the beginning of February. So then the whole thing you're doing on this planet, your whole profit scheme, your whole investment scheme, it's all on the cost of the future. And it's basically your future. So what I'm trying to do here today is to implement in your skulls a notion that you guys and girls should ask for a future. So everything we do, all the information, very useful, all the innovations, very useful, but if there's no urgency to actually ask for a future, there's not really a point in doing it. So that's a good thing in starting a discussion, isn't it? We need a, I think, bio-based, circular, maybe net zero economy. And the whole question is, with all the people from the industry, how do we get there? Let's discuss that with and give them a big hand if I call out their names. Laurien Beijer leads Spatial and Environmental Strategy of TenneT. Take any seat you like, Laurien. Rutger Hoogstraten, Business Advisor, Energy Transition at Shell. Then we have Ruud Cino, he's Deputy Director Energy Systems of the Ministry of Economics and Climate. Ta-da! Ruud, take a chair. And Arno Smetst, Professor in Solar Energy at TU Delft. Ta-da! Arno, you don't look as a professor at all.
I am.
You are? Can you prove that?
Now, I don't want to lecture here, but being a professor means inspiring young people like sitting here in the room. And you can do that in different ways, and I have my own methods and styles how to do that.
Good. I hope it will shimmer through all your answers. Yeah. Let's make this whole session a bit interactive. So if you really want to interrupt, ask something, add something, don't hesitate, just stand up and shout. All right? Before we start with the questions, I've got 4 questions for you, 3 serious ones and 1 outlook on the future. Rutger, what is your work, your role in the energy transition right now?
I work in Shell Netherlands on urban transitions. So think of renewable heat, getting rid of the natural gas for home heating, and sustainable mobility. Is Shell a good place to do that? Because we always say we have to change things around within the existing structures, otherwise we end up in total chaos. So that on the one side might be nice. On the other side, it might be, for a scientist and an expert like you, really frustrating that the majority of the profits of Shell still goes into fossil. Yeah, I'm very proud of Shell. Shell is a great company, also has a great responsibility to make things go faster. Mm-hmm. Think of renewable heat. If you get renewable heat from industry or from geothermal or from biogas, Shell should be able to do it, and we have to prove in the Netherlands that we can do it. Same for mobility. We have to help our customers move from fossil fuels to electric fuels.
Do you think it's going fast enough? Because sometimes I got the impression we're walking backwards.
No, it's way too slow. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to go into the challenges?
No.
Yeah, so it's way too slow.
We've got this quote, we cut it, Shell, way too slow. That's okay. Yeah. Laurien, what's your part in the energy transition right now?
Well, at the direction where I work, we designed the energy grid of the future. And specifically, my team is responsible for all new investments, finding the locations and the space for that, and how we do that, and how we integrate that in the Netherlands. And this is difficult. You have a tough job, don't you? I do, yeah. Space in the Netherlands. We are quite a full country. It's sort of a non-existing thing. There is no room for anything. No, there's not. No. How are you going to tackle that? Yeah, we have multiple strategies on that, but mostly we're going to buy a lot of land. Agricultural land, we're in discussions with a lot of municipalities. Yes, yeah. We have to invade Belgium. Could be. Yeah, could be
Good.
a solution.
Now we're at the same level. You see how this works? Good. We need drastic measures. Ruud, your part in the energy transition right now?
My part is very small, but my directorate does a lot of things. We were responsible for drafting the national policy on the future energy system, but we are also responsible for the spatial planning, so that connects to what TenneT says.
Good.
And we are also responsible for financing the transition.
Right.
And for innovation. So a lot of things to do.
Sub-question for me, I think it's practically impossible to design a new world and to make a new world and to measure a new world with old school finance and tools. How are you tackling that problem?
Oh, we're struggling with that, of course, and we have to learn each day how to readjust, design new instruments, etc., etc. And we're not doing this by ourselves. We have constant feedback, we have feedback loops, we try to educate ourselves, we try to come up with new ideas and constantly change the way we go forward.
And now there's a new government coming, and for me it was a serious reason to consider whether I should immigrate to New Zealand.
Why?
Belgium.
Why? Just embrace the new government. It's what we do every day.
Smother
Every day
them to
there's
death
a lot
or-
of change. We can handle this.
Okay. You're sort of an idiotic optimist, aren't you?
Yes, of course.
Good. Arno, your part in the energy transition?
Yes, I'm part of the energy transition. I have the luxury position that I can use my nerdiness for creating the future photovoltaic technologies, making them more efficient, more circular, and also thinking on how we should implement that in the future energy systems.
And are you optimistic? Because I didn't mention it for nothing. We're running out of raw materials, planet-wide. We did an international raw material conference last year, and the only 3 words my brain made after the conference was Third World War. So how does your brain work?
If you look at the problems and the challenges it had, if you see what Andre is showing, like, it's very depressive. I also do that in my lecture, for instance, renewable energy, like the first 2 lectures calculating all the simple physics of planet Earth.
Yeah.
It's very depressive. But then you say, like, but there are solutions. We have solutions to that. The technology is there.
What is, apart from all the questions we're diving into, what is the most drastic solution in your head that we have to get used to?
I think put the picture there how the energy infrastructure will look like in 2050. It is not rocket science. It's the resources and the wind and the sunlight which is incident on planet Earth. It's all given. The boundary conditions are there, so it's not really rocket science how it will look like in the future. The question is how to get there.
Yeah, and if the raw materials will last.
Yes, but therefore you also have to look at making technologies in where you use the earth abundant materials.
Good.
And it also means, even now the current PV panels, for instance, they won't supply all these energy needs in 2050.
Yeah.
So we also have change these technologies.
Yeah, because now we crush them when they're done and we put them beneath highways.
That's true.
It's a waste. We got the most expensive highways in the world in the Netherlands. Never mind. 4 questions. I'm going to introduce every question and then the actual question pops up, and after the question there's room for you guys to ask your own questions. Question number 1 is about challenges, especially for Maxine and Rutger. The industry accounts for 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions in the Netherlands, but it's very important for the Dutch economy. Agreements are made with major industrial companies such as Tata, Shell and Zeeland Refinery to reduce these emissions. However, systematic change in this sector is only happening gradually. The question: why is the energy transition for major polluters progressing more slowly than anticipated? What is the biggest challenge in making the Dutch industry net zero? Go ahead.
So, first, Harm, that's an extremely important question because every 1/10 of a degree in global heating matters. And that's a quote from one of your last podcasts, where scientists were very concerned about global heating and where will it go.
Yeah, to add to that, 3 weeks ago, The Guardian interviewed practically all of the IPCC climate scientists, and they expect 2.5 to 3 degrees or even more temperature rising, which is quite a lot. It's too much, actually.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, I'm in my job, I'm working in my neighborhood because I have a passion to turn this around. So, and before I go to the challenges, first appreciate that the last decade in the Netherlands, we have had a pretty good investment climate for energy transition. And that is because we had excellent policies to drive electric mobility, to drive the wind, offshore wind, with concession policies and infrastructure being developed. We had investments in hydrogen that's being built, biofuels, etc. So the last decade has been pretty good in the Netherlands, if I look at the whole sector. Now, it's not going fast enough. What you see at the moment, that companies, governments, capital markets are pausing the speed of investment, which is very, very concerning. And if you allow me, I don't want to go too deep into capital markets and politics.
No, but it's a good point anyway, because this week was Shell's stockholders meeting in London, and they tried to turn people around to at least support the idea that all the profits should be used for a new and better world, and it went from 21% to 19%. So it's shrinking. So people really want Shell's money and not Shell's policy.
Yeah. So I dare say that every individual working in Shell also wants that. So, and it's not just Rutger sitting here and being positive and the rest of Shell resisting change. So we want to change. Capital markets and politics are at the moment, after COVID, focusing on short term to avoid inflation. We need to create value on the short term, prosperity, and not leaving people behind.
Exactly, and that's all old economy. How do we make the switch, as far as you're concerned, to the new economy?
Yes, so I really want to reflect on that, but maybe I can highlight a second concern, and that is that if you look at industry, why aren't they changing faster? You have to look at value change. So if we have an industry, it feeds into another industry, it feeds into, and ultimately it comes to the customer for our nail polish, hair gel, socials, bicycle tires, etc. So we need the whole value chain. And creating those value chains, we've had a major step forward with the Climate Accord in the Netherlands. So everybody working together, okay, how do we create a climate and value change where everybody does their part and we change at the same speed? And I think what's currently holding us back, because the fact that capital markets today and politics are difficult doesn't take away the responsibility of management to have a vision and take decisions. So they've done that the last decade. At the moment, they're careful because we don't see the value change coming. We don't see the uptake, for example, of the hydrogen economy. So we're investing in a big factory.
How can you change that? Because there was a survey amongst Dutch CEOs. More than 3/4 of them don't have the right knowledge to act on what is necessary. More than 80% of the CFOs don't have the state-of-the-art knowledge to make a good climate analysis, a risk analysis. They don't have it. So how are you going to create your own value change? Go ahead.
Okay, so
question first, and then you can answer.
Yeah.
There's a microphone coming.
I think my question is very much a broader one for everybody. I hear a lot about tech and rules and how it's all going to help bring things along, but how are you going to get the people along? Because
we're going to park that one. It will be there. Don't worry. So let's get them started first, and then we shrink. But what about the people? Right.
Yeah. So policies are extremely important. That we as a society together we take decisions to change on top of the corporate responsibility. So your question, Harm. If I look back at Shell's history, then at some point we made a decision to go big in liquefied gas, LNG. Mark Moody Stewart, he was our CEO at the time. He didn't look at the markets. He didn't ask the market, hey, do you think LNG will be worth our investment? He just had a vision. This will be important for the future because it can connect regional markets. He just convinced shareholders, and he had that passion. So he had, indeed, Harm, he had the perspective and the knowledge to drive those decisions. So one of the things we're trying to do in Shell is to create visions that are so good that they may outweigh our shareholder short-term.
And that is good, because you know now that every euro or dollar invested in the old economy will cost you $4 in the midterm, and every dollar invested in the new economy will bring you $4. So there's a sort of $7-8 gap between it. So you're a fool if you don't do that. Ruud.
Same question, I suppose.
Same question.
Same question.
Why are we not speeding up more in the big industry?
Because the interest of the big industry is, of course, huge. They have large investments and they want to make sure when they do new investments that they will get return on their investment. Actually, what we are doing from the ministry, we have a very strange ministry, because we are responsible for the climate policy and also the energy system, also the security of supply, the price of energy. At the same time, we are responsible for the investment climate for companies. So this is always looking for the balance within the ministry.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm quite fond of the specific agreements we are trying to make with the 20 biggest emitters. A lot of our criticizers say that we are pampering those industries, but in fact what we are doing is telling them, you know our national plan for the energy system, you know the way we go forward, we know what we are going to do as a government to ensure that we follow the right path. What are your plans for your company? How are you going to be a sustainable company? And what do you need to get there? That discussion is really important to have.
We're amongst friends. Can you be a bit indiscreet? What was the Yara answer? We're gonna just get rid of the whole company?
Oh, but what they are willing to do is to look...
It's Yara people in there.
Yeah,
Look, we can see them.
Now, the NOS
they hear
now
us.
filming me. No, what they are willing to do is look at their total production process and say, do we really have to make everything right there in Zealand, or can we import parts of the production from...
Yeah, but if you look at the agricultural circles and the whole change, then in the end we might as well say, well, we don't need fertilizer anymore. Let's get rid of a carbon dioxide bomb in the south of the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's not the way we start, but it can
but
be
where you
the
end up,
conclusion
maybe.
of the company itself, that they can better produce somewhere else. Because I think in the
or
future...
something else.
Or something else,
Yeah, good.
of course, that's up to
Question
them.
over there.
Actually, I have two questions, if that's all right.
Well, it depends on how long the questions are.
I'm going to be short. Okay, so first of all, in the energy transition, I wonder how you're going to tackle the problem of the rebound effect. Because even though things might become more efficient, people are going to use it more, since the rebound effect can actually be really large. Secondly, you talk about corporate responsibility. However, Shell knows since the 80s that their role in climate change. So I wonder, considering the ownership structure, you talked about shareholders, is maybe this the time to move past the shareholder model and to move into the stakeholder model, considering, for instance, steward ownership?
And redefine profit into impact and stuff like that. So, Rutger, go ahead.
Yeah, so absolutely. The relationship we have with the capital markets is at the moment one of the challenges our management is facing. And I mean exactly what you asked. If I say that our management still has the responsibility to make the right choices and not only listen to shareholders. So
And the rebound effect, so people are going to use more energy if we change it and make it cheaper, or change the whole system?
Yeah, so rebound effect I think is a lot smaller than the main effect. I'm not too worried about it.
Can I respond on
Yeah,
that?
sure, Laurien.
Because you're absolutely right, this effect is huge. Every year we make a TenneT prognosis for the energy demand we see coming in the next 10 to 20 years, and every year we are wrong. Every year it is significantly larger for the years coming.
And same
So
goes
our
for
investment
drinking water, etc. It's all going up.
That I do not know, but I do see it for electrical, and the part of it is this energy transition, all those industries that want to connect to our grid.
Yeah.
And part of it is that we use it perhaps in a not very efficient way. And then you come a bit to the human paradox. I mean, on the one hand, we all want a very clean planet. I was a bit concerned when I saw those planet pictures just now. To be honest, my car is also electric, but quite large. Perhaps a bit too large if you say, is this efficient? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
So you have those individual decisions every day, and on the other hand, we all see that this is not right.
Rutger, finally?
Yeah, so rebound effect, if you mean, is electricity demand growing very fast? Yes, it has to go from 20% of primary energy to 80%, so absolutely. But energy efficiency is both in the residential environment getting more, so we're insulating our houses, we're buying more energy efficient machines. Same for industry, and we also have regulation on it. Industry has to become more energy efficient with our electrical drives, the pumps, and with everything. So
everything, basically.
Everything.
And as I mentioned earlier, just electrifying the whole old economy will not do the trick. We sort of have to have system changes, so we come to that later on. Arno, for your reaction on the question?
Yeah, let's first look why is the transition so slow, and that's it's the inertia of the big companies, how they're stuck in a value chain, how they're stuck in an economic market, how they quickly can adjust to technology, many aspects there. And is that a problem? I would say I don't care that much. If you see all the revolutions which we had so far in the energy transition, so neither TenneT or Shell developed solar panels or the wind turbines. The electric cars are not developed by the car industry, and the new battery technologies are not developed by the current battery. So it only means, to my opinion, Shell role will diminish in the energy infrastructure. Or they have to change their opinion. So it's all those triggers of the other new technologies which will force the big players to change faster.
Okay, so that's not so important as long as there's enough room on either side for the... Oh dear, it's really exciting, isn't it? Somebody sat on a button. And now we're out of energy as well?
This is grid congestion.
Oh, this is a total breakdown. So we have to.
They still can hear us.
Oh, of course they can. So we do it on. We don't need any energy, do we?
Yeah, we have a bit of unbalance, I think.
Can you still hear us in the back?
Yeah.
You can? Yeah. Good. Let's try. So that's a good thing to conclude, that we don't actually need these moguls to change, because they will eventually, when the left and the right is changing with them. So in the end we'll speed up. But then the question still is, do we speed up quick enough? Because it's going so slowly.
So if you look at, for instance, I was 7 years ago at the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and there I was discussing, I was there because I was the chair of the European conference in Amsterdam, and I was talking about the cost price of PV and the revolution which was ahead in the coming years. With all respect, over there, they did not know what I'm talking about. We don't have these numbers and stuff like that. So we are very bad in predicting what technology can do, and certainly when you scale up a technology. We are really bad in that. International Energy Agency, for instance, always underestimates the market, for instance, for solar. So we can do much more.
Which is not a plead for technology will save us, I hope.
No, because the rebound effect, that's my biggest worry. If you see, at my faculty, colleagues are developing the artificial intelligence, a lot of technologies which are going to consume more energy. So where does
85% of all energy.
Yeah. So where does it stop? So there is also worry.
Question over there. Is it working?
I hope so.
No, it's not. Just yell.
So I have a question for Laurien, because we talked a bit about issues with Shell, with the shareholders. TenneT is completely state-owned. Do you, in your company, find challenges with that as well? It's the other end of the spectrum, completely privately owned or state-owned.
Good question.
How does that work with TenneT?
Well, it works that in that sense that all the investments we need to do are being paid by the Dutch state. So in that sense, money is not a problem for us, but we have other challenges. However, the Dutch state does have some issues financing this. So you might have heard that we are trying to sell the German part of TenneT. We operate like a quarter of the grid in Germany. And this is proven to be really difficult because the German state doesn't have the funds. So for us, we mostly really have to make sure that all the money that we spend, that we can explain that. So we are regulated by the ACM.
But one layer below that, can you go faster than the big companies because you know where to go and you can just ask for money?
No. No, the honest answer is that they go faster than we go. So we have a big waiting list of industries. We used to have at TenneT like 30 people connected, and we have now hundreds of parties on our waiting list. And TenneT
we talk
only
about
does the high voltage grid.
Congestion and stuff.
Yeah,
and we're running out of copper. How much in panic are you?
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, to be honest.
Because the Critical Raw Material Act came into function this week.
We have a scarcity of land, we have a scarcity of materials, and we have a scarcity of people. And especially the last one, we are really into running issues that we do not have enough people that know how to lay cables.
For example.
The technical part.
And it's everywhere.
Engineer that. Yeah.
If you talk about heat pumps or solar panels or anywhere, we need people. So that's slowing it down too.
We need these people, I think.
Right. So the problem is sort of clear. Let's go to a few solutions. And to lead up to the question, there are indeed positive developments in the sector. The Netherlands has one of the most penetrated solar panel sectors in the world. The first hydrogen network has already opened in Rotterdam. The gas pipeline infrastructure in Western Europe can be converted to hydrogen pipelines for 70%. That's good news. Energy hubs are being built in the North Sea to efficiently transfer wind energy to land. Thus, there have been many small victories, as we call them, in the Netherlands. However, further new infrastructure for electricity and hydrogen is needed to make the industry sustainable. Leading up to the question, are there unique opportunities that can accelerate progress towards a net zero industry? And my question is, do we need a sort of master plan? Because we can't take all the hydrogen from the North Sea. We need it from the Middle East, maybe from Namibia. And how is your outlook on that? Let's start with Ruud.
Yes, we do need a master plan. Otherwise, we can't develop the market. And also, we need to get rid of a lot of bias. We need green hydrogen, but also blue hydrogen. Otherwise, market will never start. It will never grow fast enough.
Yeah.
So we need a master plan, and the way we do this, we design a roadmap, which is of course sort of modernism, seems to be the solution for every problem, but a roadmap, it helps you to understand what needs to be done.
Well, it's better than a Delta plan, so I like the roadmap.
Oh, I'm quite jealous of the Delta plan, because that worked. It got a lot of financing. So it's a good example, but the roadmap is not that fixed yet. So it gives you a lot of room to adapt and discuss. And I think that's part of the answer here. If you have foreign guests invited to the Netherlands, and you show them how we work, and how we work together, the government, on all levels, with industry, with environmental organizations, they are all quite astonished how we do that.
Really?
That's not very fast, but it's very effective in the end.
But the stupid thing is, Ruud, that the urgency grows, so the pressure on you grows. Technology innovates quite quickly. So whenever you design a master plan, then it's outdated, and then you have to update it, and there's never a point that you say, well, let's start do this because we're running out of time. So how do you do that?
Just start.
Did you?
Yes, we do.
What did you do?
We contracted a couple of companies starting to develop nuclear energy, starting to develop the hydrogen market. They start, and others will follow.
Laurien?
Yeah, I would like to help Ruud a bit, because the ministry did quite a lot. And for example, the plan they made for the national energy system, that is really helping us to plan our investments. So I think the ministry is really stepping up, and they are working on this master
Okay,
plan.
because we had the hydrogen rotonde, and as soon as everybody started to talk about it, we don't need that, we need the hydrogen powder, and now it's changing every day, Rutger. As a company as Shell, how can you sort of find your way in a jungle of innovations?
So innovation is important, changing is important. I don't see industry, the private industry, as being inert at all. I see it as something that can change very fast. And the unique opportunity that I see for the Netherlands as a society is what we've done in the oil crisis in the 70s, which is a strong industry policy. We need to change. So we're relying very much on the open market, and then industry will just optimize economics and shareholder value. But if as a society you're brave and say, okay, we're going this direction, and then if you look at Northwest Europe, I think the Netherlands is a great place for a clean industry, because we have the delta, we have the harbors, we have the infrastructure, we have population density, we have a very knowledgeable government, and we have the labor workforce, and you guys and girls. Yeah? So in the Netherlands, we can supply Northwest Europe with clean product.
But reality right now is that fossil companies are pumping up oil faster because they feel that maybe in 10 years it's not so easy anymore. Schaliegas, what's the...
Shale gas?
Shale gas, that's the word, in America is so cheap now that virgin plastic is even cheaper, so that all our fantastic plants to recycle plastic are going down. So it's a very complicated system you're operating in, and you're very positive, which I like, but reality is sometimes a bit different in my perspective.
Yeah, so now you're looking at the global picture, and it's too slow. There are some very bad examples. Every country and region has their own transition and their own pace. But let's look at the Netherlands, the unique opportunity here. We have seen the last decades that we can do investments if all society makes the decisions together. We can prove new value chains, so we can prove how to get from offshore wind or solar to hydrogen, to clean industry with e-crackers, e-boilers, using our refining technologies with electric refiners, creating synthetic fuels, creating e-crackers to make circular plastic. That's also being developed in our Moerdijk facility. And a lot of product goes back to Rijnland, so we also have to work together with Germany, create a corridor. So that's a unique opportunity, but it needs very strong government decisions.
And that's the word, new government coming for nuclear plants. And the latest research says nuclear power, always too expensive, always too late. So maybe in the far future, thorium things may add a little bit, but in general, every single scientist says, better not. So, and there you go again.
As long as we don't stop with all the other transitions.
Yeah, but it eats up all the money.
Ruud, help.
Ruud, help me.
I think
That's good. We have to work together here as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
if you make the calculations, they are absolutely right. But in the end, we need everything. So we also need the nuclear source.
Yeah, we
Just to
need the
get out the
energy
peaks, you mean, a little bit.
We need to balance the grid, and what we see
with
the wind and solar energy, which is a good that we are doing that. However, what we see is we cannot control it anymore. So where we used to use the gas centrals or the coal centrals to balance the peaks up and down, we cannot do that anymore. So we need a good energy mix, and so we do need either, I do not care what it's going to be, either hydrogen or nuclear. But from TenneT, we do promote just wind and solar is not going to cut it.
No, but we don't need 4 extra nuclear plants, probably.
Yeah, we found one spot where we might put a nuclear factory. So I'm putting my money on one.
Good, me too. So then we have enough money for everything the other people want to do. Could you go? Go ahead.
If you look at the reports, and certainly the countries which have experience with nuclear energy, and you're talking about the US, China, Japan, France, In December, the Global Nuclear Industry Report was published, and in that report, the industry itself is saying the business case is over.
Yeah.
Because even wind, solar, and storage is already a cheaper solution.
Oh, absolutely.
And so if you look also, all leading authorities in the energy transition scenarios in the world, nuclear does not play a role there. Strange enough, this is only a Dutch discussion, but that is more related to political identity, that we're really looking at the technology itself.
Yeah, draagvlak.
Yeah.
We need
Exactly.
draagvlak. Who's not from the Netherlands? Learn the word, draagvlak. So, Laurien, balance out
Yeah.
the net,
Yeah.
goes to energy certainty. We've been having discussions for 10 years, maybe now, that if we accept 2 percent points less certainty, it will save us billions of euros. So how is that discussion coming along compared with local grid? So then you have to not balance all the time.
Well, we have the most certain grid in the world, so I think it's 99.999 and then a 6 and a 3, I think.
So we can do
if
a
it's
bit,
just
little
going
bit
to be a
less.
6 and a 1, for TenneT this is hard, because we are very proud of our grid certainty.
I know.
We do see that our DSOs are working on this, so the regional grid operators.
Yeah.
And for TenneT that means that we cannot, because as the highway we have different responsibilities also towards Europe. If a power plant in Ukraine shuts down, the whole of Europe needs to do something.
Try to see it over 20 years, I'd say 2050.
It could be.
2150.
Yeah.
Could it be main grid balancing for all the major industries, etc., and then local grids for the housing and the other stuff?
What we hope for, and what at least I hope for, is that we have a certain point of own responsibility in your electricity demand. So that would mean in the future, perhaps large industries are a bit more self-sufficient by batteries or whatever. So that if we have uncertainties, that could be the future. We are now currently completely afhankelijk.
Dependent on...
dependent of our grid.
And wouldn't it be good for all of us as well? Because we, especially the young people, are completely spoiled these days. Don't hate me. And so if there's sometimes just no electricity for gaming or for charging your car, oh well, get used to it. Talk to each other for a change. And then maybe we'll change as people as well.
It's a political choice, I think.
Yeah, and a human choice. What do you think?
Well, I would find this very hard as a person.
You don't want that.
But it's the same paradox. You get you know what's good for the system, and then I want to come home and charge my car. I live in Utrecht. A few of you might know that you cannot charge your car before 9 o'clock at night. So it's already happening, and people not really noticing this because you drive away the next morning.
Yeah.
And it is going to happen that we are going to notice it. But I do not want it.
It's changing already, right?
Yeah, but I don't want it.
Rutger? No.
So very fundamental to my work is the understanding that we cannot replace every vehicle that's currently driving around with an electric one. We don't have the batteries, the time, the materials, resources, etc.
Yeah.
Now, so we have to, from a prosperity perspective, let go of the idea that we can always claim a car for our own, or everybody can. Some people will have to, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we have to share. Same goes for
Or we have to change the whole concept of mobility.
Exactly.
I haven't been flying for 8 years now. It's sort of okay.
And I think it's exactly the same.
He's ignoring that. When was your last time on a plane?
Sorry?
When did you last sit on a plane?
Years ago, because my son and I like to go on train holidays.
So do I. You see, but you can change, actually, if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and I think what I've learned in the mobility space, I see my industry colleagues doing the same in the energy space. If we develop geothermal projects, we don't get the grid connection. So we have to look for people to share the grid connection with, which is a very difficult discussion, but it's possible and it's necessary.
And interesting. When I was a student in Amsterdam in the 80s, we woke up at night to turn on the washing machine because the power was cheaper at night. So let's set the alarm clock at 3 o'clock. We don't care.
That needs to change. Power needs to be cheap during the day with all the solar power.
True. Now we have to work at night. Well, confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Arno, You didn't react on the question yet.
Yeah, okay.
So.
The question was again...
are there
basic
any unique opportunities to accelerate?
Oh, the unique opportunity. Now, what I always say in the lecture room, we Dutch people are very, very, very poor. And the reason for that is that we only have 50 by 50 meters of area per person in the land area.
Not too much, is it?
There's not much. So we have to produce our food on there, we have to live there, our infrastructure, we have to generate our energy. So we are forced to make choices. We are forced to put this dot on the horizon. How is the Netherlands going to look like in 2050, 2060? So we are forced to make choices, but it also gives opportunity because it means that we are one of the regions in the world which has to innovate the most.
Exactly. And the good thing is, people always say, oh, well, China, let them change first, or India or Brazil. And then Marianne Minnesma from Agenda, she's very important, she can always explain in 5 sentences. She says, we're in the top 10 in the Netherlands in carbon dioxide exhaustion per person. And we're in the top 5 of the countries that suffer the most from climate change. So let's be the best in the world in changing, and then ask the rest of the world, please help us, otherwise we'll disappear as a country, which is a very good reason to change, right? We are in the same level.
Yes. I would not over-dramatize that with
I would actually.
But indeed, if I'm around the world, they always laugh, oh, you're in the Netherlands. Like,
yeah, blub, blub, blub.
Blub, 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 blub. Yeah. That's the joke which is always being made. But there is some truth on it if you look 200, 300 years ahead.
I'm afraid so. 2100 it will start.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions from the audience? Go ahead. One over there and one over there. Microphone is coming.
Yeah, I heard you talking about hydrogen, nuclear energy. Do we also consider iron fuel? What is your opinion about it?
Iron?
Iron fuel.
Yeah. And storage in iron rust and stuff. Shell? Rutger?
So very important innovations, especially in storage. So balancing the future energy systems is going to be a lot more complicated. If you look what we're currently using for balancing the energy system with natural gas storage, pumped hydro we can't do in the Netherlands, so we need innovative solutions, so super important. Not only new technology, but also how to scale it up, how to make it financially viable, how to find space for it, etc.
It's very promising, isn't it?
Arno?
So we need all solutions which we can have, and even now, what we put in the current models, like in 2050, certainly there will be innovations there which do a better job than the technologies which we have now, which will only accelerate the solution to transition. And at the moment, we should look at all possible innovations there, and then in an just normal competition, we will see which are the dominant technologies which will be surviving.
And a question from me in between. Are we honest enough about innovations in general? Because we've been talking for 10 years about carbon capture and storage and usage, and then one after the other survey comes out nowadays, last few weeks. It will never happen. It will take up too much energy, too much space. So then it's everywhere in policy. We need CCS, and it's not going to happen probably. So
no, yeah, that is not true. You have certain energy transition models where it's leaning on carbon capture, but that also the energy policies and the people making them, they depend more on the current fossil fuel industry. Then, for instance, you have energy transition models in which they don't need the carbon capture based on current technologies. Mm-hmm. So it's just the mindset. What you see in those energy transition models, so you have that of, for instance, Shell has an energy transition model. We have the IPCC, they have their assessment models. We have the international energy agencies. And then you have the more visionary academic energy transition models. What you see that they are all shifting. Even the International Panel of Climate Change. This is based on summaries of scientific research of the last 10 years. If you see, and that is heavily determining the policies of the governments. They lean on this institute. Yeah. But these insights are usually already 10 years ahead of what's currently going on in science.
Talking about slow,
and the reason for that being is that these leading authorities, they have to publish in big journals. Consultancy consume that, and they are consulting the governments. So there you see a 10-year delay. So it's more interesting to look at what are these authorities and science in their energy transitions models saying now, because that is the storylines which will be told in 10 years here on this stage
or maybe
by these
no,
people.
we're going to speed that up too.
Yeah.
Because this is ridiculous to take. It's like 10 months is better.
Yeah, but that's just also the slowness of the system of valorization of research.
Yeah, but I was
insights.
2 weeks ago.
I agree with you, Harm. We should speed that process.
2 weeks ago, we had the international SWAPEC. I don't know if any one of you was there about electric flying, and there was a certification person as well. It takes years. So I heard myself say, shouldn't we just accept the fact that with new flying planes, sometimes they fall out of the air? Who cares?
What is your opinion?
Even thinking about that should change too, Rutger.
I was triggered by your question about honesty because it was a big theme in one of Jan Rotman's last lectures.
Oh, absolutely.
He's our change professor, and he explains us how change works and all the actors, and because all the actors have to work together, and as a society you have to take decisions. Honesty is super important about innovations, but his example was on the cost of the future energy systems. And he said, we also have to be honest that energy transition and the new complexities, they cost money. And as a society, we have to make choices to make it work. It's still a much better choice than inaction, because that is
there is no other choice.
It's not a choice.
Yeah.
But if we're honest about the cost of the transition, then we can have the debate, okay, how do we do it in a fair way, nobody's left behind, etc.
It's very good you mention him, because I'm going to make a podcast next month with Jan about new leadership, and it's all about not the knowledge and not 10-year delays, which is a given thing, but about leadership in where's your heart and where's your feeling towards the future, towards these people. How are we going to get there if we don't speed it up? So I'm really curious what the Tata and Shell and everybody's coming people are going to say. Yep. Another question over there. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I have a question for Rutger. In the Netherlands, approximately 48% of the power generation is attributed to renewables. I was curious to know what is the power, or rather Shell's power generation here in the Netherlands that is attributed to the renewables.
So the current electricity, 48% already renewable?
Yeah, 50% of our electricity was last year generated
wow.
by wind, solar, bio.
I forgot looking at 27%. So
that's 1/6
well.
of the energy demand. 1/6 of the energy demand.
For the total.
So in the end, you mean?
Don't feel comfortable yet.
No, you're right. Oh, no, it's so much more to do. But so far, we're steaming up a bit. What did Shell do to get there?
So Shell has always seen a great opportunity in generating offshore wind in the Netherlands. Why is that? Because we have this unique, shallow North Sea. It's not only shallow, it also has a big population density around it. So it's the best investment climate in the world to generate renewable energy. And we're currently building our 5th large offshore wind farm. So. And also a lot of solar. We're not the best world class in developing solar fields, but we have a couple big ones in the Netherlands. So Shell is doing their share. How are we using that electricity? We're selling it to our customers who pay a premium on renewable electricity. So in our trading portfolio, helping our customers, it's a great asset to have renewable, but also to make sure that our own assets. And if people charge their car at our charging stations, it's all Dutch renewable electricity that we generate ourselves.
But as Ruud said, it's only 1/6 now of what we will need in the future of electricity, and the North Sea is filling up. Just this morning, yesterday on the radio, we need 3 North Seas now for England, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands and Belgium. So there's not enough space. So we're running out of low-hanging fruits. Rutger.
Yeah, so space in every part of my work and every part of the energy transition, space is a huge challenge. Yeah. And the the cleverness, the innovation that we need in the Netherlands is to combine more functions.
Good.
So in the North Sea, it means how can we combine fishing and defense and electricity generation.
So you can actually launch rockets from a wind turbine.
Okay, we need innovators for that, but I don't know how to do that.
Silly idea.
In cities, we need hubs where we combine heat generation with mobility and shared mobility and parcel distribution. We need to combine more functions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
would this be a good point from you to tell all the shareholders of Shell that the coming 10 years, half of the dividend will go into these projects? What do you think?
Yeah, so then I come back, Harm, to we have to do it as a society as a whole. So I want to come to this point on the horizon that needs to be very soon. So half the dividends to renewables has to be, that point has to be brought forward. But we have to do it with our customers, with politics, with policies, the whole value chain.
Question over there. Microphone coming. Wrong side of the room. He's sitting there. No. Oh, there's another one. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have 3 questions to be asked. My first question is the master plan of climate change. I'm asking how is it different from climate policy? Because already you have climate policy, which gives tentative date for the reduction of energy emission, that is 2030 to 49%, and then 2050 to 95%. So how is the master plan will be different from the climate change policy? And then the second question is, it looks like the energy transition materials are more expensive compared to non-energy transition materials. So I want to know the policy you're putting in place in order to make such energy efficiency materials to be less expensive to the people. And then the last point is that the CEOs are less experienced when it comes to energy transition. How are we doing to improve that so that even the CEOs are not much aware? How much will we, the youth, who are yelling, whom you are yelling us to be much aware? The CEOs who are managing various institutions are less experienced in that. So how are we going to do to bring them on board so that they can also understand and appreciate the fact that energy transition is very important and relevant?
Well, first question. Shell probably. How do we get from 2030, 2050 to the goals? Oh, maybe Laurien as well. So in general as a country. Oh, Ruud, who wants to pick it?
Let me start with telling you that I liked the discussion before about being honest about the transition and about innovation. Because the government is not very good in picking the winners. So we can't make the energy transition very efficient. What we can do is set the boundary conditions, make it as inviting as possible, and are willing to change our regulations and our policy constantly when we see new developments. And we shouldn't be afraid to tell the public that sometimes perhaps billions of euros are not giving a return on investment yet, because we didn't see it coming, we weren't looking at the right direction. And this is very difficult for politicians. And it's also very difficult for the public, because what you see now is that prices are going up because the grid becomes more expensive. We have to make more and more arrangements. And the way we finance it is that we tell to each and every individual household, you have to pay for this. In the future, perhaps we have to find a different way of financing this. That's the way we as a government can help to make it as efficient as possible, given that we have a limited amount of time, because that's the problem in the transition.
Yeah, Rutger?
Yeah, so triggered by this question, I think maybe we do have to take this global perspective, because if we can invest in the Netherlands maybe to 2030 to get to the 49%, it's super difficult, maybe we can do it. But to go beyond that, we are a small player in a big market and a big world. So if you look at the Shell scenarios, I'm a big fan of Shell scenarios. They have a long-term perspective, maybe to 2100. And in Shell scenarios at the moment, the most recent ones, they're really focused on security. Why is that? Because we had COVID, we had Ukraine-Russia crisis. So a lot of policies in the financial world, in the politics, are driven by security. And in these two scenarios, security is sought in a very different way. In one scenario, countries find security in autonomy. We don't want to be geopolitically dependent, we want to do our own thing. In the other scenario, it's countries find security in more global cooperation. Not only in military security, but also by linking their energy systems and markets because we get more security. But you have to trust each other to do that. So those are the two scenarios. What you see is that in the global cooperation scenario, we are much better at dealing with climate action and avoiding emissions than in this. So we also have to work, all of us, if we want the global cooperation scenario to be reality. What do we have to do to get to that scenario?
Sure, and be aware of the fact that security always means let's keep things as they are as much as we can so that we don't have any risk. So it's very convenient for Shell as well to take that as a perspective, in my humble opinion.
I hear inert and not wanting to change. Shell wants to change, and Shell has always earned money by changing fast. So that's our whole business model is changing. But we want to do it together with our customers. We took an investment decision to build this huge hydrogen factory with 0 customers. Now, we can do that once.
No, you had one.
Who?
Marjan van Loon. She had a hydrogen car and she gave away a tank hydrogen station exactly between the Shell headquarters and her home.
No,
it was a very good thing to do.
There's no loading bay included in the design.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, I know. So, but we can only do that once. We can convince our management once to do this. Now we're building biofuel factory, but this will only fly if KLM starts buying our biokerosene.
And just to finish it up, and then we have one question and we go to the next question. What about the Steve Jobs model? People don't know what they want, we're going to tell them what they want. Shell knows far better than any other single customer what change we need and how quickly we need it. We all know that. So start telling them as a government, as a European government, start telling them what the real situation is without panicking. Everybody make panic, and then start changing with everybody. If you don't tell them the stories, if you keep on lying with everybody, it will not happen.
Yeah, that's the LNG approach. Okay, we're convinced LNG will be important, so we're just going to produce it, create value chains. So yes, I think you're right. I think that is something, so investing on a vision where Shell has to find their stakeholders, not only the capital markets, but also their customers and governments.
Sure. Yeah.
We think that hydrogen is important.
And tell them about it, and not only in fancy commercials. Oh, we're so green now. No, tell them the struggle and the difficult road you have to follow. So go ahead. Question.
Yeah. So for this, actually, we have to wrap up. So 8 minutes left. So we can go to the last question after this.
We have to wrap up. We have till. Really? 11? Oh.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
So my question is, you talked a lot about what Shell is doing and the positive things they are contributing to in the change towards a more sustainable energy system. And also you talk a lot about the role of politics and consumers. However, I think the responsibility also really lies with businesses. So besides all the really positive stuff, I'm wondering what should Shell be doing which are not currently doing to accelerate this change? And I want you to be radically honest, because I feel like there's a lot of positive things you're mentioning, but let's be honest, it's Shell we're talking about, so.
And in the end, you're asking, do you have a job? Because I'm almost finishing. No? Go ahead, Rutger.
Yeah, I can only agree with you. So Shell has to move faster. Shell cannot hide behind capital markets or political. We still have to take decisions. If I look back 10 years, we've done so. I'm really impressed by the decisions that Shell has taken in the Netherlands, also globally. Looking forward, I see it's really difficult, and that is so if I can conclude, last comment, my promise to you is I will continue to work convincing my government by creating investable visions and convincing my management. And it takes a whole generation, maybe not my generation, but the 30-year-old colleagues that I have, to create those visions that are so strong, together with stakeholders, that our management can take those decisions.
And trust me, and it goes for everyone in a business, the more profit you actually show that you stick into a new future, the better people will believe you. And doesn't mean there's no shareholder value anymore. But if you take, how many billions did you win during COVID, etc.? It was huge. Ahold Delhaize, huge. So reinvest it in our future, in our children's future, and then people will start believe you. So, and let's help each other. Good in that. So we skipped the third question, which was all about being competitive and sustainable, because it has to be a level playing field, blah, 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 and it has to be haalbaar en betaalbaar. It has to be doable and payable. I hate that phrase. And what about, we moeten kleine stapjes, we have to take small steps, but how slow can you go? That was to sort of wrap up question 3. Yep. Let's go to question 4. It's a glimpse into the future. Let's start at Arno and go down the line. Will it all work? The answer has to be yes. How will you personally contribute to this, Arno?
So yeah, I'm lucky in the business of solar energy, and you see solar energy is growing much faster than everyone is predicting all the time. What is the success of solar energy? The solar panels, it's a very modular product. The size is not growing like wind turbines. The reason for that is it has to fit in a container ship. So as much as power as possible in a container ship.
Has to fit on a roof.
And also for installers it's easy, because you can use the same van and stuff like that. It's a quite simple supply chain which can scale up. Even there, I think, talking about materials, even in the scientific field, it's like, oh, the efficiency has to go up. I think we're not limited by area. In that sense, worldwide, on the global level, we are limited by materials. And so there we have to innovate on that.
True.
But the modular approach is successful. And you also have to think also with storage. I think the small modular solutions will find a way to the youngsters over here, to the consumers and stuff like that.
It's happening right now.
And it goes with various technologies, and I think that will force the movement. So looking for the Netherlands is important to picture 2015. How are we going to use our area? We have to make clear plans of that. Also, like creating awareness with all the people around, and and it means all the sectors, from agriculture, industry. Where are we going to build our houses, stuff like that? There we need to have a clear vision, but I only see opportunities there also to integrate it nicely with the future energy infrastructure. I think we have a lot of opportunities, and certainly this generation will take these opportunities.
Good. Yeah. And from this close, you look a bit like a Duracell konijn. Yes. Oh well, that's no. Ruud?
What I see is that when we want to meet the goals, more than 60% of meeting those goals will have to come from innovations and actually scaling up innovations. And what I want to do personally, when I retire in a couple of years' time, I promise you that I will devote my time to transfer my experience and knowledge towards startups and scale-ups in the energy transition, because I think they need some help. Not because they are not smart, but because we have created a very difficult society with a lot of regulations, a lot of problems getting the right finance, etc., etc. And finding the loopholes and finding the ways to go forward, I will like to help them. So I'm going to devote my time to that part of society, the startups and
going to do this for free, or is it to fix your pension gap?
No, I don't have a pension gap. At least not that I'm aware of. Sometimes you have to don't sell yourself short, because there are companies who would like to pay you because then they think they have some influence. And others, I'm not beyond to offer my
that's very
help
sweet
for free.
and very useful, I guess, because we need all the experience we can get. Laurien, what's your outlook and what are you going to contribute?
Yeah, 2 things. I think the whole, of course we're going to do this. I think the energy transition is already irreplaceable. It's out of politics, and because of the simple fact that electricity is cheaper than gas at the moment, and this is going to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. So I think those profits are going to come, and when the profits are coming, this will fly. We are in a transition, so it will be messy for the next 10 years. And from a more personal perspective, what I need to do in my daily job, I just heard André Kuipers say that we should stop eat meat, perhaps. And I do not have an opinion on that. However, I do have an opinion on the land use in the Netherlands.
Of course you have an opinion on that. We need
of
the
course,
land.
We'll do that later.
Yeah, okay.
However,
you coward.
50% of the Dutch land is agricultural grassland.
Yeah.
Not nature,
you see, there's your opinion popping up.
And I need a lot of hectares for those stations, so I see possibilities.
Yeah, good.
So, first of all, Ruud, I really like your pledge. I think that is very inspiring, and so I'm 10 years before retirement, so but I will never forget your pledge. So that's
perfect.
Super.
No, and we actually will hold him to it. So
also perfect. And secondly, I already said what I will try to do with my management, but in my projects, I will really continue to work on the residential urban environment, getting it cleaner for livable cities. That doesn't go without speaking in Shell. Shell really focuses on systems and global markets. So to get Shell projects into the cities, that's where my passion is, and I will continue to work on those solutions.
And let me add to that, maybe what you all need as well is good storytelling, and not so much addressed on Shell or on TenneT or on universities, but in general, as a country, we should get the story of where we're going. We should get that story going. So if I can help in that perspective, know how to find me, because people just haven't got a clue in general, or they don't want to see it, and they have to. Go ahead.
The fact that this is a panel discussion triggered me, because I think this is probably the easiest discussion Rutger has had in the last couple of years. My question to all of you, is there something that someone said you don't agree with, just for my information?
I don't agree with apartheid. Is that good enough? What do you mean? No, explain yourself. You think this is a too easy discussion?
Yeah, well, I feel lectured and not like this is a discussion. You all agree with everything everyone said last hour.
Okay.
So I was just trying to figure out if someone said something that someone else didn't agree with in general.
It's really good feedback, actually.
Yeah, a bit of feedback. Well, it depends, but go ahead. Is there anything you want to come back to that you think this was too easy? Let me emphasize a little bit my own opinion in it.
Maybe one, we can have a discussion, is big industry inert, or are they capable to innovate? So I expressed an opinion about big industry being very innovative, being at the core of our culture.
And then Arno said, you don't matter, you will shrink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think even on nuclear energy, I corrected the statements being made, because the rest of the world, the authorities don't believe in nuclear energy anymore. So there have been some statements made. And I also think that the role of Shell will shrink, obviously. Because if you look at the energy carrier value chain, if they're really serious, they also should produce the electrons, make the future fuels. The choice being made now is they are becoming consumer of the new electrons. So it's in the energy flow charts. Their role will diminish. That's the choice being made currently by the CEOs.
And let me bounce the question back. What didn't you agree with? She's coming back.
I was quite surprised that you are quite positive about nuclear energy, because there's been so much information in the news in the last year. I think in Great Britain they're building a nuclear power plant now, which was planned on being like 10 billion in the beginning, and now it's already costing 50 billion, so it's 40 billion over budget.
Yeah.
And you were already talking about the scarcity of some materials on Earth. Uranium is one of the materials, of course, that is used with nuclear energy. If we continue to progress using nuclear energy, we still have uranium for like 10 years left. There's 8 million tons of uranium on the planet, And if we continue with the plans as we do now, there's only for 50 years, and if we upskill the doing of nuclear energy, there's only for 10 years left.
Yeah, but then they change it around and we can eat up the stuff that we already used again, and so there's more room, but your point is very clear. Arno agrees with you, so the other three, and then we wrap it up.
Well, I do not completely agree that we did all agree on this point. However, what I think is more your question is, I think on a higher level we do all agree that we need to do something to save this planet. And if you ask me about how we do that, I have lots of issues with Shell, to be honest, in my daily work. And because we don't always agree in our daily business. And the example you gave with the offshore wind energy, I think this is great. On the other hand, it's causing enormous problems for us on the grid. So I do not think that we agree on everything at all, and that we really need political guidance on this. However, once we have that, I think we all know on the higher level where to go. And if this is nuclear or not, absolutely, I really do not care if politics say it's going to be nuclear. What I need is an energy mix. So not only wind and solar, that's my plea.
And on the other hand, I thought it was kind of refreshing in this day that a normal conversation can lead up to its opinions as well. So when you look at the Tweede Kamer, they yell at each other all the time. Maybe that's sort of the new normal. Not for me. I thought it was a rather good conversation, and that it's too complex to solve it all in one panel discussion, but at least the flaws are visible, so we can talk from here on. So let's wrap this up, because we're going within 15 minutes towards a nice pitch competition that might be even more. It's here. That's what you mean by right. So get yourself a cup of coffee or do anything else, and give a very big hand to our panel discussion members. Thank you very much.